Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Population, around 47,000. Home to a dead mall, a mercury factory, and the birthplace of King Camp Gillette, the inventor of the safety razor. Also home to Don Gordsky, the world record holder for eating the most Big Macs, and where Colin Kaepernick spent most of his childhood. If you've never heard of Fond du Lac, you're not alone. It's here. It's also the home to Philomena, a young boho chic fashion enthusiast, and Andy, aka AV Super Sunshine, an eccentric musician still chasing his rock and roll dream.
So this was a really interesting documentary with just a great story. I love the style of it. The introduction was so awesome. It had my attention right away. The way that AV and Philomena were introduced with those titles. And we even got the director's intro here too, which I've never seen in a documentary before. Normally, if there's a narration, you hear them off screen and you don't ever see their voice. So this was a nice departure. And I loved all the different styles of art and storytelling that we got here. They used everything from animations to AV and Philomena's personal footage and the interviews. It was just all so fitting for the subject matter. Oh, and I also liked how the director's narration matched the tone of the other two. Like, this was just a cohesive piece that was really well done.
I enjoyed watching Alien Abduction as someone who's intrigued by ufology and by ancient aliens theory. I think that it was a good choice in the beginning to use the more abstract, artistic reenactment techniques like the mannequins and the puppets, because in this case, obviously, the situation couldn't be reenacted. I liked that Jared chose to frame the film through his own processing of this couple sharing their story and his own skepticism, because I think that most people watching have skepticism about the idea of an alien encounter. And I also think it was important for us to see Philomena and AV as the full individuals, who they are, and as a couple and what their life is like a little bit, and a little getting to know each of them and their backstory a bit, because I think it informs why they may have been led to believe that this occurred to them, and it allows us to appreciate them as individuals outside of what we may or may not think about the encounter that they're sharing. My favorite person in the film was Jared's brother, because I felt like he comes at the situation from a place of openness, but also from using pure logic to even determine that openness.
I really like Alien Abduction. I think the documentaries rise and dies on their subject matter, and I think Alien Abduction subject matter has interested people at large for decades. And I also like the way that Jared, the documentarian, told the story. I like the idea of having, like, the filmmaker having their own voice and their own kind of running commentaries sort of that may or may not line up with what the subject is talking about, and like the cut into the titles that like add context to what we're seeing with the main subjects. And I like the idea that Jared told the story and the way that he told it. So overall, really well done. Good job.
I was really intrigued by this. I thought that the concept and how it was filmed was really, really interesting. Like, introducing who they were and then playing like what they had made Jared, and to kind of help explain their story before he even like truly agreed to do it. And then throughout the whole thing, it wasn't shy about Jared being kind of questioning and trying to push for it, and they didn't like cover that up, which I thought from a storytelling point was really interesting, because then it felt very even more like this is their story that they're trying to get out. And what he said at the end, like, you can make your mind up about it, like, I've done what they asked me to do, what I said I would do, which is tell their story. I was really intrigued by it. I liked how it was filmed because it was really raw and really real, with the struggles and the kind of going back and forth, and some of the tension at different points. So I really liked that it didn't shy away from those things, that it was just kind of honest in that sense.
I like this approach that they try to film a type of documentary with the perspective of having some testimonials that are sensible, and they try to give that perspective to the film as well, even though there were no scientific facts or evidentiary documentation or anything to back it up. I think it was real hard for people involved to get along with contradictory or opposing views of things, and I like how they get involved people with regular day-to-day opinions with their own lives and just have their say on the matter. I appreciate the fact as well that the testimonials are so hard to share and describe and explain to everyday or strangers. So people involved didn't even have the chance to share their experience with the people they loved. It was so hard for them to open up. And I understand, I try to appreciate the fact that they were brave enough to open up and talk about what they experienced. And I think it was a great film. It was honest and hard on both sides. So I really enjoyed it.
This was a pretty interesting film about a guy who gets contacted by this couple who apparently were abducted by aliens in this very trippy sort of story. It reminds me of some other documentaries I've seen where they're trying to look at one thing and they discover something else and it becomes a completely different story, which doesn't quite happen here, but I think that's what the filmmaker was after. So it's a worthy effort. It didn't quite work. Just needs to find more story in this thing if possible, but maybe that's just all there is to it. Cheers.
I love the animation and CGI that the director uses in between the interviews, and I really like the couple. They seemed sweet and approachable. I also enjoy the interview of the filmmaker's brother, who lists stats of how big the universe really is and the possibility that there is life outside Earth. Loved the upbeat musical score in the piece, and it was fun hearing about other people who have also reported alien life on Earth. This film leaves the viewer with lots of good questions to ponder. Awesome job.